everybody, my name is Kelly. I'm back for a Thrifty Notion's Textile Talk series with part 2 of our weave structures topic, and today we're going to be discussing twill weaves and all of its variations. So we already talked about twill weaves in the first video. If you didn't watch it, it's going to be up in the cards and linked down below, but if you have already seen that video, you are familiar with the twill weave, and today we're going to be talking about how it can be switched up a little bit and turned into a lot of different patterns, including some that you'll definitely recognize. So before we jump into it, I'm going to address the elephant in the room, which is that this is not what I normally do. It's very dark behind me, thank goodness. I'm so glad you guys can't see what this room looks like right now. There's a lamp pointed at my face like I'm being interrogated, which is also a little strange, but I kind of feel like I'm being interrogated because I've tried to film this video more than once and it's just not going super well. So we're working with the brain that I have, not the one I would like to have, and we're going to be trying something a little bit different. I made myself a cup of tea, which I probably need to take the tea bags out of so they don't oversteep, and it's probably going to be chattier than usual. If that's not your vibe, I would suggest checking out the blog post that's linked down in the description box. It's going to be a much more concise version of what we're going to talk about here, and let's chat about twill weaves and all of its different variations after I get a sip of my tea. Also, I feel the need to address this mug really fast before we get into it. It says 10 Steps to Health. It's from Japan, and it has such things as eat more vegetables and then less meat, and give more and take less. Forget about worries and sleep tight. So, if you would like 10 Steps to Health, I will put those in a comment. It's my favorite mug of all time. If you don't see me drinking out of a mug that large, just know I'm probably sad about it on the inside. So before we talk about the variations of twill weave, very quickly, I would just like to recap that this is what a twill weave pattern looks like, and a common example of a twill weave fabric is denim. And usually denim will have those pronounced diagonal ribs in the fabric from being a twill weave. Since we're talking about denim, I'll use that to guide our first variation on a twill weave, which would be a broken twill. And I bring this one up because it's also used to make a type of denim, and it does look a little bit different than a denim fabric that's produced with a typical twill weave. My experience tells me that broken twills are more often used with lighter weight denims than heavier denims, which tend to be a standard twill, but that's just what I've experienced. I don't know if that's a hard and fast rule by any means. I just figured I'd throw it out there. The repeat used to make a broken twill denim is usually on the smaller side, so it's not going to be very visible, it's not going to be nearly as textured, but if you were to make that repeat larger, you're going to have another very common fabric, and that is herringbone. I really like the versatility of herringbone fabric because if it's made from a single color of yarn, it can be just kind of like an elevated basic. It's going to be a little more interesting than a plain weave fabric, but it's just going to have a subtle texture to it, not super in your face, very classic. On the other hand, you can make herringbone with 2 colors of yarn, and you can go really bold and drastic with this contrast, or kind of more subdued as well. So you can achieve a lot of different looks with one weave pattern. Herringbone isn't just versatile in its looks, but it's also very versatile in its applications. It's often used in home decor to make things like upholstery fabric that can be very durable because it is essentially denim's cousin at that point. The next variation is houndstooth, and this one's really fun because it can actually be made with just a standard 2x2 twill, but what makes that fun, eye-catching pattern is the fact that there are 2 different yarn colors used to weave this fabric. So there are many variations on houndstooth in and of itself. The pattern can also be scaled up and down within the weave, and multiple sizes and colors can often be combined to make some really cool houndstooth plaids as well. Next up is point twill, and this is where it gets a little bit tricky because visually point twill is very similar to herringbone. But you may have noticed that with a herringbone, which you remember is also called a broken twill, there is a break in that point at the top. It's offset. The lines don't line up perfectly, and that's because herringbone utilizes switching between a left-hand twill and a right-hand twill, which is all very technical, but what makes a point twill different is that it does just use a regular twill weave. It's a standard 2x2 twill pattern, but partway through the twill, it's going to reverse directions and then reverse back. And by doing that, that's what makes that chevron stripe effect in the fabric. I would consider herringbone and houndstooth the 2 most popular twill variations, and I wanted to talk about point twill because it can be confused with herringbone. But at the end of the day, all of these really just illustrate that you can take a twill weave, combine it with different colors of threads, and make some really cool patterns. Here are some more examples of the countless variations you can make by taking those concepts of switching up the twill direction and incorporating different colors of thread to make some really incredible patterns. While researching this, I learned about twill samplers, which are apparently a very common beginner project for weavers to learn about all the different patterns you can make with a twill weave. I think it's really interesting. I've never woven my own fabric, but I'd love to try it someday, so maybe someday I'll have my own little twill sampler to share with you guys. But for now, I just want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for watching this video, and I actually have a question for you guys. I haven't been sure how in-depth to go with these topics, and I've been trying to keep them as concise as possible, but I have been wondering if it would be more interesting if I incorporated historical facts and things like that into these videos. So for example, when talking about herringbone and houndstooth, I could talk about where they originated and what popularized them, but I just am not sure how much to put in these videos or if they should be their own standalone videos, just like the history of houndstooth. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Would you like it if these videos incorporated more history, or do you think that that should be a standalone series? Thank you for your feedback, thank you for being here, and I'll see you next time. Happy sewing.